I don't think people realise how many people are actually involved in an addiction. People that don't even realise it, they're involved the minute that someone's died, and that's it. You're immediately impacted for the rest of your life. Okay, my name's Lucy. I'm 22 years old and I'm here to talk about my brother. So growing up, I grew up in Spain with my mum, my dad, my brother Cameron, and my sister Paige. Whilst we lived in Spain, my other brother did live in England. He actually grew up in care for a little bit of the time, because I don't know, he kind of struggled to kind of get into the family life, I suppose, of my parents. One of my earliest memories of my brother, the first year that we moved back to England, and I'm sitting on my bedroom floor playing with this puzzle, and I just see what I defined as a giant at the time, and this huge guy just walked in and he just says hello, and I was just like, oh my God. Unfortunately, my brother did end up serving some time after a fight outside a pub one evening. I suppose as a result of it, I was never really able to meet him properly. So he would have met me as a child, as a baby, before moving to Spain, but no, never met him whilst I lived in Spain. So within the prison kind of environment, there's a massive kind of like drug life, like a drug world involved, which you might know just off the top of your head. You're like, oh, of course there's drugs in prison. But no one really understands the extent of it. So as a result of this, he therein developed a drug addiction, which no one probably really knew initially. It's kind of like, okay, he dabbled in drugs, he'd done this, that, and the other whilst he was in there, but no one really understood the extent of it. Had the system not been as flawed as it actually is, and was able to produce the kind of help that it needs to be producing in order to help these people that they, confine in these spaces, there's no way he would have ended up the way he did. I think one of my favourite memories with my brother is probably the final Christmas we had with him. And, it's such a basic memory, it's probably a bit pathetic to some people, but we went to a big Tesco's in, I believe it's the Crawley big Tesco's, and we just shop around looking for all the Christmas food. I don't know, is there something, maybe I liked it so much because it was the first time we were able to act like a normal family, just heading to the shops and doing normal family things. So yeah, that was quite a nice memory I had with him. He was on, conditional discharge, and he said to us, I've been getting these strange voicemails from the police at the time. I believe he was due back in for whatever it was he needs to go back in. But, being that age at the time, I wasn't paying attention to the specifics, but I know he needed to be somewhere, needed to talk to someone, and they were essentially trying to find him. And in these voice notes, I remember hearing them and just being shocked. It was they were taunting him, essentially. They were like, we will find you. Try and have a nice Christmas, will you? We will find you, and just laughing in the background. And I just thought, the first thing that came to my mind was just bullies. I was like, how can you bully someone? Christmas time, whatever the time is, how can you send such nasty messages when you're actually supposed to be in a place of caring? You're there to look after the community, but you're there taunting them and chasing them down and essentially hunting them down like they're nothing. And I believe, then we'll jump forward a week later to a more unfortunate event, which, is where the story really starts to take a turn, is he died of a drug overdose on New Year's Day. I guess that's when the voice notes stopped, that's when the taunting stopped, that's when the drug addiction stopped, everything just stopped because essentially he just stopped. So, yeah. I full-heartedly believe that the system, the police officers at the time, didn't care about him. They don't. They really don't. I mean, you see it in these, I suppose, these other documentaries all the time when you go into life in the prisons and they just get like a 24 hours in the day of a prison. You can see in the way they treat them. They're just animals. But I believe it's some Scandinavian prison where they're just, they get their own apartments. Their family can visit them. It's a very nice, way to rehabilitate yourself and be looked after, but also keeping you away from the public whilst you kind of shift your mindset, learn the wrongs and rights, and get the therapy that you so desperately need. This is essentially supposed to be a rehabilitation centre. It's not really supposed to be about punishment, like, totally. That's not the prime, I guess, objective of a prison. It's rehabilitation, it's protection from society, but also just changing them, re-educating, re-enhancing the way that these people think. At the end of the day, they are human beings. They're not people for you to, essentially hunt down, taunt, be horrible to. They're individuals, They still deserve respect. But yeah, they are just numbers at the end of the day, and that's all anyone will ever care about, unfortunately. So I'm currently studying criminology and law at university. Coming to university, I set on with a plan to do some sort of prison reform maybe after university in terms of drugs and the type of help and support that these inmates would be getting post-prison life. Maybe I'm too empathetic. I do care about people and how they feel, and I think a lot of that has to do with seeing how he was treated by people that were in a position where they should have been looking after him. We're currently in Hastings, where my brother lived for the majority of his adult life, and it's where he's currently buried. This will be the first time I visited his grave. I've never been before.
It was really nice visiting the little memorial site. It's my first time going. It's quite weird. I'm kind of glad I did it without family, but it's just a shame the weather is a bit English. Otherwise I would have spent a bit more time, sat with it, because a lot of people, used to sit there with the grave in the summer and just sit there, have a drink, and just, chat to him. I mean, a lot of sadness crept over me when I first saw it, but like I said, it's been a good few years now that I was able to contain it, but who knows, might have to cry myself to sleep tonight. I think if there was a message I'd want people to take from this is that, no one should have to be going to visit a crematorium for any loved one who's, especially a young one at that, for something that could have been so avoidable. I think this whole experience this week has really opened my eyes to, I suppose, the help I want to give in the future in terms of, drug abuse and stuff like that. So I am now heading back to Bristol to go home.
So whilst these individuals are, I suppose, set aside to readjust and really, I suppose, conform, they shouldn't be chucked in some sort of cage like animals, essentially, because that's never going to work. You're punishing. Punishment never works, and it never will, it never has. You need to help, not punish.